Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Black and Briefed. Today, I am very excited for this conversation. This is someone I've been wanting to talk to for quite some time, and you guys have probably seen her recently in the news holding it down for progressive voices in Florida. This is Rep. Angie Nixon from Florida. Today, we're going to talk to her about her campaign, what has been going on in the Florida legislature, and where she sees the future of that state and honestly, the future of our country. So without further ado, this is Angie Nixon. She is not a career politician. She is a union organizer, a mother, a small business owner, and a proven fighter born and raised in Duval County, Jacksonville, Florida. And now she is running for US Senate because she believes that Florida can and must do better for working people. In the Florida State House, Angie has built a reputation for taking on fights that matter. She worked to expand childcare access for thousands of families stretched thin by rising costs. She pushed back when a major grocery chain attempted to gouge prices at a time when Floridians were already struggling. And when Governor Ron DeSantis advanced unfair voting maps that diluted the voices of Black and working class communities, Angie helped lead the resistance. But Angie's leadership didn't begin in Tallahassee. She previously served as the executive director for Florida for All, a statewide coalition focused on building people power across the state. Under her leadership, the organization registered tens of thousands of new voters and raised resources to support issue-based campaigns rooted in affordability, democracy, and equity. Back home in Jacksonville, she runs a bookstore and community hub dedicated to expanding access to healthy food, educational programming, and civic engagement. As a child, she was bused across town because her predominantly Black neighborhood school lacked adequate resources. Later, she experienced the devastating loss of her favorite cousin to gun violence, a tragedy that continues to fuel her fight for safer communities and meaningful solutions. She is running for US Senate because Florida families are being squeezed from every direction, and she believes Florida deserves leadership that stands up to corporate greed, defends civil rights, protects our democracy, and invests in children's futures. Without further ado, this is State Representative Angie Nixon. Welcome to Black and Brief. So glad to have
Hey,
you.
Danny Lynn. So excited to be here. Thanks for having me to, a fellow Florida girl to another.
Yes. This is a conversation between two Florida girls talking about the direction that we see not only the state going, but the country going and what needs to be done. Again, this is an opportunity to give voices that may not otherwise have a more broad stretch, the opportunity to speak to a platform. So I know that primaries are coming up, obviously, and then we have a general election in November. But really, what I want to start with is you have a very unique background. I think that for the last probably 15 to 20 years, we've been seeing the electorate push for people who are not, quote unquote, career politicians. They didn't start out with, a golden spoon in their mouth. They didn't start out from a political family. People really want something new. And you are coming from a very unique background as an organizer and also as an entrepreneur. So let's talk about how your lived experience really shaped your desire to run for public office.
Yeah, for sure. So I am a union baby. My mom was a member of 3106. My dad was a army sergeant. He's retired now. And I majored in political science. I initially wanted to become a doctor. That didn't work out after taking chemistry.
Yeah, that'll
My
do it.
first semester, I was like, that's not for you, girl. And so I actually wanted to do telecom news because like I'm really nosy and like to know things. And so we're required to take political science classes, like state and local government classes. There were two classes you had to take. And so I realized after being in that class how much power it was, especially with the veto process. And
Mhm.
why that's important, and I wanted to bring that up, is because Ron DeSantis yesterday stated that he uses the veto to get back at his nemesis in regards to any elected officials that do not follow his agenda. He vetoes their projects and vetoes their bills. this is important to note because it's really hard to get our communities to change. By our communities, I mean like you and I are Black, marginalized communities. It's really hard to change those communities when you have people that are in power in the majority, that don't want you to dissent from them, but
Right.
their policies are really cruel. And so I am an organizer and I work to for the past nearly 2 decades to really educate people about like don't give your power away. When you don't vote, you've basically conceded and allowed other people to make the decisions that either help you or harm you. And I ain't finna let nobody just make no decisions for me without me like being vocal about it. And so we see time and time again, especially right now in this country, that the billionaire class and these corporations and these corrupt politicians are the ones that are determining the direction of our country. An article came out earlier this week, and I'm in this Black Girl Magic chat with some of the state Black girl lawmakers, and it was talking about the net worth of elected officials in the state legislature. Me and those girls in the Black Girl Magic chat, we are at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And more specifically, I believe that three of us are in the bottom 10. And so one of us is like the very bottom, right? And so the types of policies that we legislate, like that we draft and push, impact and empower marginalized, hardworking people or low income folks. The types of policies that the leadership pushes benefits billionaires and ultra millionaires and corporations. And so this is why it is important for us to start electing people that are just everyday people. If I come from, I operate knowing that hardworking everyday people should get to determine what their communities look like and what their economies look like. Can you imagine if we had custodians and nurses and educators and cafeteria workers and construction workers? Can you imagine if they were our lawmakers? Think about the types of policies they would push. They would push policies that impact in a positive way other cafeteria workers and construction workers and fast food workers, not just policies that put more money in rich people's pockets. And so I am starting to see a shift and people want something different. And I'm really letting folks know like that we are currently boldly being attacked right now. And if this moment requires bold leadership, it does not require status quo, timid leadership. We have to have someone with a clear vision about the direction that our country should go. And I feel that I am that person. The direction our country should go should be towards the people, not just this elite few. That is what I have been working on even before I've been an elected official. And so, yeah.
Absolutely. So part of your story involves, having experienced some losses to gun violence, seeing your mother work very hard to ensure that, you had a proper education. At what point in your life did you connect your lived experience, what you were seeing and what your family was going through, to the fact that like government should or does have something to do with what it is that we're going through?
When I was speaking at my favorite cousin's funeral, after I had graduated from college, I think I was possibly almost a year out of college, and looking in the audience at my daughter, who was not yet one at the time, and looking in the audience at his son, who was over the age of one, and realizing that I didn't want my daughter to have to bury her favorite cousin the same way I just had to bury mine.
Mm.
Because my cousin, we were the same age, but he went to neighborhood schools that weren't fully resourced, and I went to a school across town. I was bused because my mama told me she didn't want to make the same mistake that she made with my brother. And I didn't understand what she meant at the time, but what she meant was that those neighborhood schools, and still often to this day, they don't have the same resources. Those neighborhood schools in marginalized communities, in Black communities, in low income or just regular working class communities don't have the same resources as those in more affluent sides of town do. And so I was able to be exposed to a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have been exposed to over there. Like, I saw diversity in a way that, sometimes, it was only like one or two or three of us in the classroom, Black people, but like I saw, one of my friends in second grade was Lebanese, and I wouldn't have known what Lebanese was if I would have went to my neighborhood school on the north side. They had like international fairs and bringing in different types of food, and I think that's probably why I'm so willing to like taste different things and go different places, as opposed to like my mom and my brother that be like, I'm straight. And it's because I was exposed at a very young age and able to see more doctors and lawyers. Not that they didn't exist on my side of town, but it wasn't just in your face all the time like it was over in those other magnet school areas. And so it's like they had so much more technology and things like that. And a lot of times it was because like the PTA, they got a lot of money from the parents and things like that. And it's different in marginalized communities because people barely making it and they struggling, but that doesn't mean that they still shouldn't have the access to those resources. And that is what like DEI is about: diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like making sure you are overcompensating for folks who are without to make it more equitable. It's not equitable if you give me the same thing that you give them on the other side of town, because I already started behind on this side of town. So they need more wraparound services, more, resources to help improve the quality of life. Like a lot of the kids on my side of town, they're dealing with trauma.
Right.
They're hungry, they come to school mad, and so they need mental health resources and all the things as well. And they need food, sometimes they need their clothes washed and everything like that. And so that is how I like saw the direct correlation, because I was like, damn, like my neighborhood, I literally had to catch a bus at 6 something in the morning. So I would have to get up as an elementary school student around 5 something to catch that bus to be able to go and be in school around 7:30, 7:45, so I could be to school on time. And like traveling on that side of town, you're looking at the neighborhoods, it looks completely different. They have more restaurants, more stores, more amenities on that side of town as it relates to on my side of town, the north side. And because I went to a school in Mandarin. And if
Mm.
folks know, there's a difference between what north side of town looked like I grew up off of Moncrief, as
Mm.
opposed to Mandarin,
Mm-hmm.
night and day.
Day.
Do you hear
Absolutely.
me?
Absolutely.
So I noticed then that there was a difference. And so that's why when I came back, I was like, nah, I'm sure if my cousin would have went to the same schools that I went to, he would still be alive today. And so no, every school deserves to have the resources that they need so that all the children can thrive.
I think it's important to paint a picture, a, paint a picture for people to understand what you were exposed to and what you were growing up in, because I think sometimes when people don't share the same lived experience, they can't understand why you're so passionate about the issues that you're passionate about. Jacksonville is it's a very unique place. I mean, I grew up when I was living there, we were zoned to go to Andrew Jackson and we absolutely got in the car and drove to the magnet schools. And it's so crazy that Jacksonville has two of the highest rated college prep magnet schools in Stanton and
I'm a
Paxson.
graduate of Stanton College
There
Prep.
we go. Exactly. But to give kids the opportunity to go to schools like that, to go to magnet programs that cater to like a certain interest or something like that, even the communities that they were in, it was such a stark difference.
Yeah, they were literally in those marginalized communities. And the thing is, what pissed me off was a lot of the neighborhood school students, a lot of the kids in the neighborhood couldn't attend those schools because
Right.
their neighborhood schools didn't even have the prerequisites required for them to get into the school, like the Stantons and the Paxons. And so, like, that's by design.
Right.